I keep coming back to the same uneasy thought, and I cannot shake it. Joe may be on his way to town, but it seems like the real disaster could happen before he ever gets the chance to step into Port Charles. That is what makes this whole situation feel so dangerous to me. Everyone may be watching for Joe's arrival, waiting for the confrontation, waiting for the father to appear and change everything, but what if the person who moves first is not Joe at all? What if Ethan has already been watching, already planning, already waiting for the perfect moment to strike where it would hurt the most? Right now, Brooklyn and Chase appear to be focused on completing Phoebe's adoption. On the surface, it seems like things are finally moving in a hopeful direction for them. After so much heartbreak, so much waiting, and so many emotional setbacks, Phoebe may look like the child who brings peace into their lives. But I do not think peace is what the writers are setting up here. I think the calm around this adoption could be hiding something darker. It is very possible that every happy step Brooklyn and Chase take only brings them closer to a nightmare they never saw coming. I can imagine Brooklyn feeling that something is off before anyone else takes it seriously. Maybe Phoebe's routine changes. Maybe there is one strange delay, one missed check-in, one moment where the baby is not where she is supposed to be. At first, it could look like confusion. It could be a misunderstanding. It could be someone in the family assuming another person has Phoebe, but then the fear would start to spread. And this means that Brooklyn's joy could turn into panic in a matter of seconds. No one expected that a child at the center of an adoption story could suddenly become the center of a possible kidnapping. The police may get involved quickly, but I do not think their presence would make anyone feel safe. In fact, it could make everything worse. If they discover even the smallest clue suggesting Phoebe was taken, then the whole situation changes. Suddenly, this is not just a missing child. It becomes a targeted act. And if Phoebe really is Joe's daughter, then it seems like the motive may not be about Brooklyn or Chase at all. They could simply be caught in the middle of a revenge plot that began long before Phoebe was ever placed in their arms. That is where Ethan becomes so interesting to me. I do not believe this would be random. I do not believe someone like Ethan would risk everything just to hurt strangers. It could be that Ethan has been carrying an old wound for years, one connected to Delilah, Joe, and a past that was never fully buried. It seems like both Ethan and Joe may have loved Delilah at one point, but love in a soap like this is rarely simple. The truth could be much more complicated. Maybe Ethan believed Delilah belonged with him. Maybe he thought Joe stole not just her affection, but the life Ethan believed he deserved. And what if the betrayal was even deeper than jealousy? What if Delilah loved Ethan at one time, but then became pregnant with Joe's child? I think that kind of twist would explain the intensity of Ethan's hatred. It would not just be about losing Delilah. It would be about humiliation, rejection, and the permanent proof of Joe's place in Delilah's life. Phoebe would not just be a baby to Ethan. She would be the living reminder of everything he lost. That is why it is very possible that Ethan would see Phoebe not as innocent, but as leverage. I also keep thinking about Delilah's final movements. If she came to town, it may not have been an accident. It could be that she was running. It could be that she was trying to reach Jacinda because Jacinda knew enough to help her. Maybe Delilah understood Ethan's rage better than anyone else. Maybe she knew that if Ethan found out the truth about Phoebe, he would never stop. If Delilah died before she could reach Jacinda, then her death may have left behind more than grief. It may have left behind a secret that everyone is only now beginning to uncover. Joe's part in this could be just as twisted. He may have been attacked by Ethan and survived when Ethan believed he was gone for good. If that is true, then Joe arriving in town would not simply be about meeting his daughter. It could be about revenge. It could be about justice. It could be about a man who lost Delilah, nearly lost his own life, and is now discovering that his daughter is alive but vulnerable. I think Joe may come to Port Charles expecting answers, but it seems like he may find only more danger. Jacinda could be the key piece here, and I do not think her role should be underestimated. It is very possible that she has been secretly feeding information to Joe, trying to help him without exposing herself. Maybe she knows what Ethan did. Maybe she knows what Delilah feared. Maybe she knows that Phoebe is not just any child, but if Ethan begins to suspect Jacinda, then the tension could explode. The moment Ethan realizes Joe is alive, and the moment he learns Phoebe is in the care of Brooklyn and Chase, everything changes. That could be the trigger. Ethan may not kidnap Phoebe because he wants to raise her or protect her. I think it could be much colder than that. He may take her to stop Joe from having the reunion Delilah would have wanted. He may take her because he wants Joe to suffer in the exact way Ethan believes he suffered. This means that Phoebe becomes the weapon in a war she never asked to be part of. And that is what makes this potential storyline so heartbreaking. Brooklyn and Chase would be devastated, but they may also be forced to confront something painful. If Phoebe is Joe's daughter, then their adoption dream may have been built on information that was incomplete from the start. I do not think that means they love Phoebe any less. In fact, it could make everything more emotional. Brooklyn may feel like she is losing the child she already chose in her heart, while Joe may be fighting for the daughter he never got to know. No one expected that love itself could become the source of so much conflict. I also wonder whether the Quartermaines could turn this into a full family crisis. I can see them rallying around Brooklyn, using influence, money, and connections to find Phoebe. But Ethan may be smart enough to know that a loud search works in his favor if it creates chaos. It could be that every clue he leaves behind is meant to mislead them. It could be that he wants Joe exposed. It could be that he wants Chase distracted. The truth could be much more complicated than a simple kidnapping. And then there is the question of what Joe will do once he realizes Ethan may be behind it. I do not think Joe would wait quietly for the police to handle everything. If he has already survived Ethan once, then he may understand the kind of man he is dealing with. It is very possible that Joe will go after Ethan himself, not because he wants to be reckless, but because he believes he is the only one who can predict Ethan's next move. That could put Joe directly in danger again, especially if Ethan has been planning this longer than anyone realizes. What if Ethan does not only want Phoebe hidden, what if he wants to force Joe into a trap? What if Phoebe's disappearance is only the beginning of a much larger plan designed to pull Joe out into the open? I keep thinking that Ethan may not be acting out of sudden rage. He may be acting from years of obsession. And obsession is always more dangerous when it has had time to grow in silence. By the time Joe reaches Port Charles, he may not find the reunion as dreamed about. He may find Brooklyn shattered, Chase furious, Jacinda terrified, and Phoebe gone. It seems like the entire story could shift from adoption to survival in a single moment. And if Joe truly is Phoebe's father, then his first act as a father may not be holding his child. It may be hunting the man who took her. Still, I do not think everything is as clear as it appears. Ethan may be the obvious suspect, but the truth could be much more complicated. Someone else may have helped him. Someone may have hidden Delilah's secrets. Someone may know why Joe stayed away for so long. And if Phoebe's disappearance opens